good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said.
Hello and welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. My name is Kyle Case, and I'll be your host on this amazing journey as we attempt to help you get the most out of your life. Joining me in the studio today is my co-pilot, Jeff Harding. Jeff, how are you today?
Kyle, I am doing well.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And doing.
There's lots being done, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
We are just literally days away from the Huntsman World Senior Games.
Yes, we are. And if anybody's ever done an event before, they know that the days leading up to the event are almost as busy as the event.
Well, and that is definitely the case for us. We've been working year-round, of course, for this time of year, and we look forward to it. But the last couple of weeks, and especially the last couple of days, have been very hectic. But that's okay. We're excited.
Well, that's where the energy comes in, because you're interacting with all the volunteers and the folks, and it's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And speaking of volunteers, there are still opportunities to volunteer for the games. The games actually start on Monday. Mm-hmm. Monday, October 5th is our first day of competition. But if you've been thinking about registering as a volunteer and being a part of the games, if you're interested in meeting great people from around the world and just having a great time, come and help us out at the Huntsman World Senior Games as a volunteer.
Just go to our website, seniorgames.net, click on the volunteer tab, create a volunteer account, and you can see the opportunities. You can click on a specific date to see the opportunities that are available that day, or you can see what's available the whole time.
And there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think, I don't know if I can help out. I'm not that sports oriented. I don't know how to keep score. I'm not an official. And we do have opportunities in those areas. Certainly, but we have lots of other opportunities that are not really sports related at all, with refreshments and just a wide variety of different things to help out.
You can even rake the long jump pit.
And speaking of that, we actually are a little short in volunteers for track and field specifically.
Right.
So if you have any free time, you don't even have to have any expertise or any real experience with track and field. You'll receive a little bit of training there on the field. But if you have any free time, starting on Monday the 5th, again, we could really use some help in track and field specifically. And again, there are other areas too, but track and field is one of those areas we're a little short right now.
Right.
So yeah, any help that we can get would be fantastic. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this time, as you said, leading up to the games. This is a crazy time for us. There's lots going on, and a lot of times it ends up being early mornings and late nights and, very full days in between. And, I think about our athletes as well who are getting ready to come to the games. They're working on their travel plans, and they're trying to stay healthy and make sure that they don't have any last-minute injuries. And then, of course, there's the whole thrill of victory and agony of defeat. And, all of that can feel sometimes a little overwhelming.
Yes, it can.
But I've found that the key, at least in my life, is to try to find some semblance of balance.
Okay. I almost tripped over that one, but balance is good.
And you almost went all the way down, huh?
Yes, I did.
Balance is good. Balance is good. So I wanted to talk about balance just a little bit to start us off. And, there are lots of things that affect your balance, and I'm talking about physical balance, like the ability to stand upright.
Right.
Obviously, we want balance in all areas of our life, but I'm talking about actually standing up and not falling down.
Walking and not finding yourself on the ground.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So there are lots of things that affect our balance.
Okay.
And I'm only going to talk about 3 of them, because there's plenty, but just 3 things I wanted to focus on. Okay. Number 1 thing that can mess with your balance: diabetes. You ever thought about that?
Well, I know that it affects the blood flow to your extremities, and if you can't feel it with your toes, it's hard to walk
and your feet and everything. So uncontrolled diabetes really can wreak havoc on really every organ in your body. Yeah. There's vision problems that can come from it, problems with your kidneys, nerve damage, oral issues, and, as you said, troubles with your extremities and your feet in particular. And, when you lose blood loss or loss of sensation or have nerve damage in your feet, it
is hard to walk.
Yeah. And, the problem with not being able to walk well is that sometimes you end up going all the way down.
Yes.
And that can lead to real problems as well. So please manage your diabetes. My younger sister was diagnosed with diabetes as a kid. She was 4 or 5 years old. And so she spent her whole life trying to manage this. And we have some family history. So I've seen the effects of diabetes and how important it is to try to manage it. So that's number 1. Number 2, foot pain and foot conditions. And this follows along that same vein as we
Right.
just talked about with diabetes. If you've got problems with your feet, whatever the problems are, bunions, corns, sprained ankles, whatever those problems are, it can really make it hard to stay upright.
You start walking funny, and the next thing you know, you're not.
You're not walking at all.
Yes.
You're on the ground, which is
Right.
where we want to avoid being.
Unless you really, really want to be there.
Unless you want to be there.
Yes.
Like you're, I don't know,
Doing push-ups or
relaxing
something.
or push-ups or whatever. Stretching.
Or stretching.
Number three, certain medications.
Well, yeah. I mean, they can affect your equilibrium. And,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. We talk about medications, and generally speaking, we hope that medications are prescribed to help us. That's the whole point behind them. But there are many drugs that carry side effects that can negatively impact our balance, including sedatives, antidepressants, antihistamines, blood pressure medications. They can all be linked to drowsiness, dizziness, and some even can cause damage to the inner ear, which is, of course, where balance happens. So,
you missed the biggest one, Kyle.
what's that?
Old age. The older I get, the more I seem to fall down.
Everything can be compounded by old age,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's true. It's very, very true. But balance is very important. And, you mentioned it, Jeff. As we age, the last thing we want to do is fall. And it's not the dizziness, and it's not even the act of falling. It's the landing. That's
It's definitely the
hard part,
landing.
right?
I mean, the falling's nothing. It's the stop that kills you.
Yeah. The for sure, we want to avoid that. So today, our special guest is Karen Shlieter. And we're glad that you could join us today. Karen, how are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me here.
Well, wonderful. We're glad that you took time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Karen is a graduate from California State University, Fullerton. She got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in gerokinesiology. In addition to that, she has an MBA and is a fall-proof balance and mobility specialist. So she's right on target for this idea of balance and keeping things where we want them.
Yes, she is. Yes,
And we're
she
glad
is.
that you can join
Yes.
us
We're
today,
very happy
Karen.
to have you here, Karen.
Thanks for having me here.
She also works with Intermountain Healthcare and is an expert in a variety of different things. And we wanted to talk today a little bit about that concept of being in balance with your whole life. But before we get into that, tell us just a little bit more about yourself, how you got into what you do and some of your expertise.
Great. Well, this actually has been a midlife career change for me. I was going down the corporate route for quite a while, and I started creeping up on my own midlife and decided that I wanted to be a bit more focused on helping not only myself, but individuals within my same age group and basically the large baby boomer population to keep all of us healthy and living as active a life as we can. So I went back to school and got an additional master's degree in gerokinesiology so that I could really focus on working with midlife and older adults and putting that emphasis on balance and mobility.
You know, Kyle, I think several of the guests we've had from the Intermountain Live Well Center have been midlife career changes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, you mentioned the baby boomer and that whole wave and that just that mass of people that's moving through our nation and even around the world, really. And not only are there some incredible needs that can be met, but it can be a great business opportunity as well. And I think that it was wise. I think the opportunity to jump on board and to help out in this area.
And that's really where the need is. And when we look at our community here, we have such a large midlife and older adult population that's continuing to expand. We're going to have the largest growing percentage-wise of the state as we look out the next 10, 20 years. So it's a perfect population here. And I actually relocated from Southern California in part because this is such a perfect environment, both for me to be in personally and also to be able to do the kind of work I do and work with the population that I specialize with.
And, the great thing about this group of people, this population, the baby boomers as they're moving through, is that they really are interested in getting the most out of their life. They're very interested in making sure that that they're able to do the things that they want to do, more so than probably any previous generation.
Absolutely.
And so awesome. So your approach is kind of a holistic, overall health and wellness balanced approach to things. So that's a very wide and a very big opening, but tell us a little bit about how someone gets to that point. How do you get to that I'm now balanced and I'm ready to move forward and conquer the world?
Well, really, when we approach, especially for midlife and older adult, we need to look at all aspects of what's so important for remaining upright.
Yeah.
We want to stay off the ground unless if we want to be there intentionally.
Right.
And what we see with older adults is that a third of older adults will fall. And the risk is great. Once an individual's had a fall, there's a 50% likelihood that they're going to have another fall within the same year that they've fallen. And very often, unfortunately, what we see with individuals that have a fall is it really sets up a negative pattern that they may not recover from. The nice thing is that we can reverse what the risks are associated with falling. And Kyle, you touched on some of the key issues associated with falling, which is medications can have a significant effect on an individual's balance, usually because of the dizziness that it provides as a side effect.
Right.
And so many individuals take multiple prescription medications, which then compounds those
Sometimes
those
interact
side
with each
effects,
other. Yeah.
interactions, exactly. So what we really want to encourage individuals to do is to pick up fitness if they're not already paying attention to their fitness. And at any age, they can improve their fitness level. And so if we look at what is a well-rounded fitness program, especially for a midlife and older adult, it's going to include cardiovascular fitness, so doing some sort of aerobic activity that's going to elevate their heart rate and strengthen their cardiovascular system, to work on their muscular strength so that they are keeping the muscles strong. From the time we turn about 30, every year, if we're not doing muscle strengthening work, we reduce our overall muscle mass by about 0.5%. And over the years... Every year.
Wow.
So if you think about somebody...
30 years just about for me, so I've lost about 15% of my muscle mass, I think.
And often what we see is an individual's weight may remain the same on the scale, but what that means is that they've got a lot more fat tissue and a lot less muscle tissue on their body.
If only it stayed the same on the scale.
that might help, right?
That would be at least a step in the right direction. Now, I just have a quick question for you. I've noticed that when I was younger and I would trip, I was able to recover and not actually fall. Now, when I trip, instead of, I take 4 or 5 steps. Sometimes I'm recovering, and sometimes I'm not. But I'm also finding that I'm falling more. Is that normal? I mean, is that something that you can help with what you're talking about? Because there's the two parts. There's the tripping, and then there's the falling. And sometimes when something, okay, just for example, my mom was at a play that my niece was in, and she was walking out, and there was a cord across the aisle that she didn't pay attention to. And because of that, she tripped, but she couldn't catch herself, and so she ended up falling into the seats.
Right. So what we see very often happen, well, first of all, falling is not a normal aspect of aging. A lot of people think that that's just going to be, I'm getting older, I'm going to fall.
Yeah.
Falling isn't normal at any age. You're more likely to have falls as you age, and there's a variety of factors that can lead to that. So one of the key things is maintaining a good fitness level, in particular maintaining muscular strength and muscular power. So our strength is how forcefully a muscle can contract. And then muscle power is the ability for the muscle to contract quickly. So if you think about, if you trip, you have to be able to step very quickly to recover from that. And that requires muscular power to do that. So what we want to do is make sure that we're maintaining that muscular strength and that muscular power so you have the ability to recover. The other kind of key thing that's happening there is you think about an infant learning to crawl and to walk. What they're, without thinking about it, is they're learning how to control their center of gravity.
Yeah.
And our center of gravity is right around our belly button and the area of our hips. So we learn to control our center of gravity. Unfortunately, as we age, we tend to lose some of that control of our center of gravity. It's a skill set We just don't think about it being a skill set, but it's a skill set. So part of what we do for clients that are in our balance and mobility classes at the LiveWell Center is we focus on quite a few different dimensions of balance. So muscular strength is one of those important dimensions. We do a lot of focus on activities that help to get them tuned back into moving properly with their center of gravity. When people start being fearful about falling, they tend to look down at the ground.
Yeah.
So if you watch somebody that is afraid of falling or has maybe had a fall, they're looking down at the ground the whole time. That automatically shifts their center of gravity, takes them
Pulls
more
them
off
forward,
balance,
yeah.
right? Pulls them forward, exactly. So one of the real simple tools that we teach our clients is look forward at a vertical target. Find a vertical line to look at when you're moving forward or if you're getting up out of a chair. And that automatically vertically aligns your body. It helps to stabilize your vision. And you'll almost immediately feel more stable as you're moving.
Because that's the
Makes
way
sense.
that you've been used to walking most of your life.
Exactly.
Until that unfortunate fall when you got nervous.
Right.
Well, you're listening to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life, and we are visiting with Karen Shlieter, who is talking about living a very balanced and a holistically overall healthy life. And I wanted to ask you about you talked about making sure that in order to achieve that balance, you needed to have strong muscles and you needed to work on your cardio. Are there specific exercises that you would recommend someone do in order to maintain that muscular strength? And then same thing with cardio. Are there specific things that you would recommend?
Well, let me start with cardio.
Okay.
Basically, cardio would be doing anything that's going to elevate the heart rate. So that can be as easy as going out and taking a brisk walk. And the American College of Sports Medicine, who sets the standards around what is appropriate physical activity, they recommend accumulating about 100, at least accumulating 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity physical activity. So that would be like taking a 30-minute walk 5 days a week.
Okay.
And so walking, swimming, cycling, hiking. We have beautiful country
We do.
we
We
live
do.
in here for hiking. So again, anything that's going to elevate the heart rate for the cardiovascular fitness. For strength training, somewhat that's going to depend on what the fitness level starting point
Where your
is for the
starting point is.
individual. But certainly for the lower body, doing things like squats, chair stands. So for somebody who's maybe at a low fitness level, just getting in and out of a chair, up and down, 12 to 15 times, not using their hands to
Yeah.
push off if they're able to do so, or to work towards that point where they can get up that way without using their hands. If we think about what we do every day, we're getting off the toilet, we're getting out of the car, we're getting out of chairs. So being able to get up out of a chair is just a basic functional activity to do and to help maintain strength. And to be able to get down to the floor. I regularly encourage my clients, if they are able to get down onto the floor
On purpose.
and get up on purpose, on purpose.
A controlled descent.
Yes,
A controlled
exactly,
descent.
a controlled descent, and get up from the floor, even if it doesn't look pretty getting up. Somebody will say to me, well, it's kind of hard for me to do. I can do it, but I don't look really good
feel
while I'm doing
awkward,
it.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. Get up off the floor, because that is a skill in itself. And a lot of older adults stop getting on the floor because they're afraid they're not going to be able to get up. They lose that skill set, and then it further elevates their fear of falling and being stuck. And
Yeah.
it's that old classic commercial, help by
I can't
falling and
get
I
up.
can't get up.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about the worst case scenario, someone who is almost sedentary and trying to get back into things. What about somebody who is an athlete, maybe is already engaging in a certain level of physical activity? What do you recommend for those two areas, cardio
Right.
and strength, for that person?
Right. So for the individual who is an athlete, often what we see with athletes is they're very good at exercising for their sport.
Right.
But it's really important that you think with that more balanced and well-rounded program, especially as we age, having a well-rounded cardiovascular strength, flexibility and balance / agility type program, especially for the athlete where they're going to want more agility there. That's going to be important to help them reduce the risk of having overuse injuries or having imbalances. So we often see, for instance, with runners, if that's all they do is run, they're going to potentially have knee issues. They're going to develop hip issues. If they're doing a well-balanced strength training program, which doesn't require a lot of time, a good strength training program can be 2 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes of doing strength training. They're going to reduce their risk for injuries, but they're also going to improve their performance. They're going to have better balance, symmetry within their different muscle groups. If they're doing strength training for their upper body, they're going to have more power when they're running. So their arm swing's going to be more powerful, and it's going to help move them across that finish line at a good performance time.
Which is really what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Is that why the CrossFit era, I mean, is that why there's so many CrossFit training gyms because of that? Or is that just kind of a phenomenon that has nothing to do with people trying to be more balanced in their training?
I think that some of the CrossFit approach is to try to be more balanced. I know the founder of it has really tried to make a focus on functional type of training. So doing movements that translate to activities of daily living somewhat. So I think it's partially that attraction to it. And, as new trends in fitness come along, that always draws a large audience.
I just thought it was that guys like to grunt as they were lifting those big tires.
Oh, we do, yeah, for sure.
Certainly.
Like to grunt, even when we're not lifting tires.
Well, no, that's old guys that grunt when they're not lifting tires.
So we're coming up on the Huntsman World Senior Games, as we've been talking about. It's just a few days away. Monday, October 5th is our first day. What advice do you have for our athletes that are either here in town and getting ready for the event, or that are coming into town and preparing for this competition?
Well, for just getting ready at this point where we're too close to say, okay, here's what you're going to do with the new training program. But what they can do to really benefit themselves at this point is make sure that they are not forgetting a warm-up.
Okay.
So they need to be doing some sort of a dynamic warm-up. So a dynamic warm-up would be simulating movements of what their sport is without a lot of resistance to make sure that they are stretching after the body is warmed up, that they're doing more static or stationary type stretching so that they're maintaining good range of motion in the joints, that they're providing adequate rest to their body.
Yeah.
We often forget how important rest is. It's part of that whole formula of what makes good fitness, is to make sure that you are giving your body time to recover sufficiently.
And, that's an interesting one, because we're taught, no pain, no gain, and, push yourself. And I have to admit, I have a tendency to subscribe to that, but it's true. It really is true. Rest is so important, and not just laying down and sleeping at night, although, that's definitely important, but just, stepping back a little bit from pushing yourself so hard can actually help you accomplish your goals if you'll allow it to.
As is hydration.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And certainly in this climate where people may be coming in and not used to as dry a climate as we have here, and the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's exciting. This is great information, and we certainly appreciate you spending time with us and taking time out of your schedule to be with us, and some great things to think about,
Yeah, it really is.
That concept of a whole body approach, I think, is so important and easy to overlook. If you're a javelin thrower, it's really easy to just focus right in on, I'm going to be the best javelin thrower I can, and the way I do that is by throwing the javelin, and that's what I'm going to do. And I think what you said is just right on. If we can take a holistic approach, and yes, absolutely, throw that javelin, get that right arm strong. But if you can also balance it out with some left arm exercises and some cardio and some just overall whole body fitness, it makes sense that you'll end up with a better result in the end, and be able to compete longer, which, for our athletes, for the Huntsman World Senior Games athletes, that's really what it's all about. No one wants to turn 50, compete once, and then be done. They want to keep going.
Well, longer and at a higher level.
Yeah.
Higher level and and injury-free.
All very
Injury-free, very important words.
Most important.
Awesome. Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
That's
you.
about all the time that we've got, but we really appreciate your expertise and your time. So the games are almost here, Jeff.
They're so close, you could hit them with a rock if you threw it hard enough.
It's so true. It's so true. We've been talking the last couple of weeks about the opening ceremonies and the concert and celebration, and I just want to put one more plug in for it because it's such, the opening ceremonies in particular, that's the next one coming up, is such a great
It's
show.
so fun, yeah.
It's Tuesday, October 6th, so just a few days away, and it is a great show. There's singing, there's dancing, we're going to have fireworks. If you attend the parade, the opening ceremonies, and watch that parade of athletes and don't feel a swell of inspiration, then you're probably not watching the parade of athletes. It's great. It's great. Of course, we have the lighting of the cauldron. And this year, our special guest speaker is Rayford Johnson, Olympic gold medalist. He was a decathlete. Has lived this balanced life his whole life. He won the gold medal in 1960. He continues to be active to this day. Going to be sharing his experience and his not only his Olympic experience, but some of the other great things that have happened in his life.
A great show to see.
And it's free, Jeff.
It doesn't cost anything, Kyle.
It's free, and we want to invite everybody.
It costs your time, but that's about it.
That's it. We want to invite everybody to come and be a part of it. Once again, it's 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 6th. It's at the Huntsman Stadium, which is on the campus of Dixie State University. And we want to invite you to come and be a part of it.
We'd love to see you there.
Tune in next Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time on AM 1450 or FM 93.1 for those who are listening live. And we're going to be right in the middle of the games during that time, and we're probably going to get a chance to visit with some of our athletes, and we're just going to enjoy that show. But tune in then. And for those of you who are outside of the area, check us out on our website at seniorgames.net. And also register to be a volunteer right there.
That's right.
Here's our inspiration for the day. Be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody. Until next Thursday, stay active.
Bye.